All right, the next step, now that we've moved to the submission phase, is to decide how we're going to distribute the work to each of the students in our class. And so you'll notice that we have a gray check mark here next to where it says allocate submissions. Now, it's a really good idea to wait until everyone is done turning in their work in order to do that, but still during the submission phase, because you don't want to move on to the assessment phase until this is done. But because we have no students in this fictional class, we have 0 that we're expecting, we have 0 that are submitted, and we have 0 to allocate. So as you can imagine, if we have students in this class, if we had 100 students enrolled in our course, we would expect 100, and then we would see this number change as students turned it in. So let's go to allocate submissions. We can still go through the process even though there are no students, so you can see what it would look like. So I'll click on allocate submissions. And you'll notice that you have 3 options here. You can manually allocate, which means you can go in and you can decide that student number 1 is going to grade student number 2's paper and so on. I think it's a lot easier to go with random allocation. And so you can tweak things later on, but this kind of gives each student a certain number of submissions to grade. You notice that it says the number of reviews is 5 per submission. So what that means by default is that they need to have turned something in order to grade someone's paper. So a lot of times you'll have a student who is absent for the submission, but you still want them to be able to assess other people, and then they can turn in their paper later on. So what I usually do is change this from per submission to per reviewer. That means everyone that's enrolled in the class will be able to grade the 5 random peers' papers that they get. And you can change this to whatever number you want, almost. You may want to start off with a lower number, for instance. Anytime you randomly allocate, I suggest that you remove the current allocation, so it basically reshuffles everything. Because I chose per reviewer, I'm saying that students that didn't turn anything in should be able to grade. So I'm going to go ahead and check that box. And then when I click add self-assessments, what that means is that if they turned in their paper, they're going to grade 3 of their peers plus their own paper. And if I go ahead and hit save changes, it would show me, if I had a class full of students, it would show me who has been assigned to who. And I can click continue. And then if I wanted to, I could go back to manual allocation, and I could change some of the students that are being graded by a person that I don't want them to be graded by, or something like that. Scheduled allocation, you're only going to use that if you have everything on a time schedule and stuff like that. So you probably won't be using that early on, at least.